Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland,
New York,
New Jersey,
Minneapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan.
Iowa,
Massachusetts,
Georgia,
Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom, Polynesia,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head, Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club.
and Wilderness Lodge.
And you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
my
DVC Points.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to the My DVC Points Community Hall Live. I'm Sandy, and I'm here with Tama tonight. We're going to be talking about everything golf. So, do you guys love golf? We certainly do as a family. Did you know that Disney actually has 4 magnificent golf courses, the Palm, Magnolia, Lake Buena Vista, and Oak Trail, and that Disney also offers foot golf and miniature golf on property. So for tonight's Community Hall Live, we have a few of our community top golfers, along with Rebecca and Willie, who will be joining us shortly to discuss the courses and memberships and all those types of discounts that are available to us as DVC members and annual pass holders, as well as Disney's foot golf and miniature golf. So we'd love for you to join us and to share your Disney golfing experience with us along the way. But before we get into that, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for the evening, Dvc Rental Store. Now, honey, I don't know about you, but I don't think we'll ever use the Dvc Rental Store. We're always points poor.
Well, maybe not to rent them out, but maybe if we're short a few points on that magical vacation.
Oh, well, that's a good point. So whether you're lacking points or you would like to rent out those points that you have in excess, these are the folks to contact, the DVC Rental Store. So let's bring in Willie and Rebecca at this point. Really excited to chat with them tonight. Hey, folks, how you doing? So excited to see you.
So excited to be here.
So you guys are very avid golfers. Tama has been getting into it like Willie over the past couple of years.
Fairly recent.
Yeah, and the courses at Walt Disney World are just magnificent. Fantastically groomed, just top notch compared to anywhere else in the world. So I'm going to let you guys get into that because I have to admit that my capacity as a golfer is I can hit straight, not very far, but I'm mostly momming with the 2 kids and this guy as we go for a family round. So I'm very good at driving that golf cart.
We first got into it, I was playing a lot more. It started out as a him hobby, wanting to, find something for us to do together. And I've always loved every sport, so I said, why not give it a shot? And then pretty quickly, I just got really tired. I went from doing a full 18 holes down to 9. Then I cut out the par 5s, and now I get up on the greens and I read the putts and I align him so that he's at least hitting in the direction that we should be going.
Oh, well, that's always good. So she caddies really, really well, is what you're saying. She's an excellent coach.
He introduces me as his caddy every single time because I will read the green for him, and then he'll still put his ball down and be like, do you like it? Do you like where it's aimed? And I'm like, yeah. And he'll stand up there and be like, am I still good? And I'm like, yep, you're still good. Trust the ball. And then sure enough, it'll go in.
You have to be careful with that because maybe he's using you as an out to say, oh, no, that wasn't a good read.
And that has happened before. But
That rarely happens.
I was going to say, it's very...
So it's funny because I always introduce her as my caddy and my fiance, and everybody laughs. And there's not been around where before we make the turn to the back 9, someone who laughed when I introduced her isn't asking for a read. They always see it. They see, because there's 2 parts. You got to read the putt. You got to hit the putt. She reads it. I hit it. I may not hit it great, but somebody will see oh, wow, it was the right line. And then sure enough, they're like, can you come read this one for me? And then
that's great.
And then they hit it and they're like, oh, wow. And then they proceed to ask the age-old question. How did you learn how to read putts?
I don't. I just literally I go up there. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Feel it.
There's a couple tips and tricks. If you're looking at the hole, wherever all of the fray or the dirt is usually the direction the grass is pulling. So you're like, okay. And then I've heard that the grass usually pulls towards wherever the water is, or the green is literally leaning towards the water. There's obvious hills that you can see sometimes, but for the most part, I just go up there and I'm like, it could be straight 99% of the way, but if it tilts one way or the other, it's going to go this way. So you want to aim to like the right half or the right edge of the cup just to ensure that it's, it's because it'll fall that way. And
Take
works
into account
out.
the break and
yeah, it works out. I would say about 80 to 85% of the time. So
well, it must have been good enough for him to propose to his caddy.
That's it, exactly.
I was a caddy before I was a fiance.
Yeah, she
So
was.
So at this point, I guess we'll get a little bit more into the courses and the membership. So I know, Willie, that you're a member, as is Tama, and you have different types of memberships. So I'll let you guys get into the ones that you all are using, and then maybe we can talk about the different types that are available. Although we have a little bit of a caveat at this point in time, right, Willie?
Yeah. So currently, membership sales are on pause. So they aren't currently available to join, but they still are available at one point. They'll come back.
Well, for sure.
They're not
Kind
gone.
of a victim of their own success to some degree. And
yeah,
I think everywhere, right? Pretty much every golf course you speak to, if you speak to anyone who's an avid golfer in your local towns, they're packed, right? The last couple of years has been a boom to golf, and now they're trying to scramble and figure out what to do with it. So it's bound to happen. But it's been great. So yeah, I flashed my card. I'm quite happy. I managed to sneak in
back in January.
Got my DVC golf membership as of January. Yeah. So that was quite nice, and we can go into some of the perks and bonuses. And Willie, you have that as well, I believe, right?
I have the Players Club, which is geared to, now they do have seasonal options, but it's geared to the Orlando resident. It's a year-long membership, and it is stacked with quite a lot of perks, as you mentioned before. But good thing to know is if you're only going to be here maybe 30 days, 90 days of the year, they do offer the Players Club membership in increments of 30, 60, 90 days as well.
That's kind of handy.
And then I think there's also different levels of it as well, right? So there's the silver, the gold, and the platinum that you can join up with, and each one of those has their own perks. So I'm seeing here just from, basic things like you have unlimited play on the platinum for certain things for buckets and ranges of balls. And then there's also like the possibility of doing like prepaid memberships, back in the day when they were offering them as one of those options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the platinum is the top. It's very similar to the old annual pass names, silver, gold, platinum. Platinum is the top. You get what they call bonus access times, which is morning and afternoon times. You get, I think, 3 large buckets per day, and you get 3 guest passes. You also get discounts on the merchandise at the pro shops there, discounts on the food at the Chippendales delis, which is superb. Some of the best golf course food I've had.
Really? That's good to know.
Yes, we both
chicken bacon quesadilla.
Yeah, quesadilla. That is my.
And they have a gluten-free bread and a tortilla because I'm gluten-free. So
yeah. So that is my pre-round little. I won't say snack, lunch before a round. I'll have that and then go. It's not too heavy. It doesn't make you.
Yeah,
sluggish,
exactly.
So
the chicken bacon quesadilla.
Yeah.
It's not too heavy.
All right. Okay. Good to know.
No, it's not.
You hear chicken and bacon and quesadilla, and you think, oh, that's gonna make me sluggish and heavy. It's not.
You know what? It's grilled chicken.
Yeah.
The bacon is sparse. I would say you can tell that it's there, but it's not like strips of
Not
it.
overwhelming.
It's like chopped up. They use good cheese, and then it's nice sour cream,
salsa and sour cream on the side. Yeah. So
it's good.
All right. It's a nice pro tip there.
So those are some perks with the platinum. If that's a big one, if you're going to be bringing a guest, you get 3 guest passes per month. So it's great there. And then you also get a $5 discount on all Players Club tournaments, which they host sporadically. We have one coming up a week from tomorrow, which I'm excited about. Then we drop down to the gold, and the biggest difference between the gold and the platinum is you get 2 large buckets per day instead of 3, and you get 1 guest pass for the month instead of 3. But all the other benefits remain the same. You get access to the bonus access time, which is the morning and the afternoon, and then you get standard access time. And
did I hear you say that was per day?
Yeah. You get you get gold 2 large buckets per day, so that's
a lot.
Yeah, it's 140 to 150 balls because each bucket is 70 to 75 balls. So
yeah, you can be there for quite a while.
Yeah, so they really do market the program overall, the membership, as for the player that's wanting to improve. So, and speaking of improvement, they do group clinics.
Courses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do group clinics 5 days out of the week. So every day.
Oh, wow.
Every day except Sunday, Monday. They have
That's
a PGA
amazing.
Tour instructors there, and they come out and they give group clinics. We've benefited from a few of them. The gold membership gets you 3 free guest passes for the clinics. So 1 guest pass for the round, 3 for the clinics. I think the silver's 6 guest passes for the clinics. So it really is geared towards improvement. And then when you drop down to the silver, you get 1 large bucket per day, and then you only get access to the standard time, which is usually those twilight times.
Right, which is still very acceptable in terms of a perk to have access to it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yep. I've run the numbers. I'm an accountant. I've run the numbers. It is best bang for your buck.
And I will say those guest passes have been really beneficial for us too, because there's some days where like I do want to play, and the guest passes allow for me to play at his rate.
Mhm.
So whatever he is paying for his round or whatever, I also get to use that. Or he'll take his friends or his coworkers and stuff like
Yeah,
his buddies
exactly.
out there, and they get to benefit from that. And then you can have 1 bucket and I can have 1 bucket, and it's really beneficial.
Yeah. So, and I mean, in terms of the perks with the DVC golf membership, so they give you, this, kind of old school punch card, which is kind of refreshing for each of the different ones that you can get, because it is a little bit more limited in terms of quantity, right? It's not going to be every day or, every month or whatnot, but you do get, companion passes. So there is, 4 companion passes that come with that. A few rounds of twilight golf that are complimentary. So that's kind of nice. So that's late afternoon. You may or may not finish your round, right? And then, I think when I did it in January, and by hole 14, 15, like it was sketchy. I like when I couldn't see where my ball went, I was like, that's it, calling it a night, and walked away. But that was kind of nice. And you get a few rounds that are complimentary at Oak Trail, which is nice. Some foot golf as well, and then some range balls as well. Then the other thing I noticed is that sometimes you get, if you're playing around, you get a small range basket as well, right? So that's free. So without the membership, it's nice to get the large one. And of course, you do get the fancy schmancy luggage tag. Hey, you got to represent DVC golf cap. Works well. Can't have too many golf caps.
So those are definitely nice perks, I have to say. Free swag is always good, right, folks? Like,
yeah.
And I think the best part about the DVC membership was definitely the price. Yeah,
you can't be beat. It was $99. You sign up at Saratoga, right? So at Lake Buena Vista, and in fact, the discounts were so great. The guy at the cash at running the store at the pro shop, he was so overwhelmed the day I went to sign up. Like, they were swamped with people buying merch, sign-ups, all sorts of questions. And it cost some things to be late, so he actually didn't charge me for some of the rounds that were comp. So I mean, it was like a bonus on top of bonus, but that's the Disney service, right? They'll go over and above to make sure you have a great day, and that extends to golfing as well.
Exactly. I think that's great. And then I guess the last thing that we should talk about is that you can actually add it on to your annual pass, I believe, as well. There's an option to do, I think it's water parks, free mini golf before 4, and unlimited foot golf.
Yeah, there's
then also like unlimited at the
I think you get a couple of discounts at Oak Trail.
Course.
Maybe not unlimited, but there's definitely discounts at Oak Trail. It's quite nice.
So that's a nice add-on as well if you're not a DVC member, or maybe if you're a friend of a DVC member and you want to travel with them and have your own membership. So this is a nice little add-on to the annual pass, which hopefully they'll start bringing those annual passes back too, along with the golf membership.
For that one, you need to have the annual pass, and they need to bring back the golf membership. You're kind of got to get both of those.
Yeah. So like I see the question, one of the questions coming out, but if you're an avid golfer, right, and you want to, if you're going to be there 3 to 5 times a year, which one, which tier do you go? I mean, my reaction would be to stick with the DVC membership, because that one there, you'll be able to use that a couple of times, as opposed to that monthly, and all those perks that you mentioned with the Players Club. Unfortunately, with neither of them available, kind of out of luck at the moment.
Yeah. Because we make a trip out there. We were going every weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. So we definitely got our money's worth with being local, that it made sense for him to have the Players Club. But if you're only here 3 to 5 times, he had the DVC membership before he had Players Club, and that still worked for us for a long time, because like you said, they would throw in every now and then a couple free rounds for us that like we weren't expecting or we didn't have punches for and stuff, and like that
Yeah.
it helped us to elongate it. Yeah, it helped us to elongate it a little bit. It was very magical. That was how we played foot golf together because I'm a soccer player, so that was like my ticket into it, you know, getting to play that with him. But I think definitely for someone who is like Gina is asking, an avid golfer that loves to golf but is only there, you know, 2 months total out of the year, I would think the DVC membership is perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too that you kind of touched on, but there's also that discount. So, you know, with the memberships, with annual pass, and then with the you know, the various memberships as well, you do get, you know, sort of discount on discounts on discounts. So even if you're not getting a comped round with, you know, the certain tiers, you do get a pretty nice savings on how much you're going to pay for those rounds. Because let's be honest, you know, full price, you know, like rack rate at some of the peak times, it can get up there. It can get pretty pricey.
Oh yeah.
So if you can get that DVC discount and knock off a, you know, a 15-20%, that goes a long way. Fast.
Yeah.
Definitely. So getting a little bit more into the courses, do we have any more comments, Gina, from anyone on that, or are we skipping into the course? Okay, so we're skipping into the courses at this point. I know you guys have had a chance to play almost all, I believe all of them.
Oh yeah.
So
Multiple
yeah,
Multiple
so
times.
there we go. And you've played quite a few of them. So I think you're only
I've
missing
played
one.
Lake Buena Vista a couple times, Oak Trail a couple times. I don't think I've made it out to Palm and Noglia. At least I'm not remembering it.
The
As
first
possible.
time when we went with the little one.
Yeah.
It could be. So what was your favorite part about the courses when you were there? Like, let's say Lake Buena Vista.
Well, Lake Buena Vista was our first one. We did a sunrise a couple of years ago. And what was great there is incredibly, you know, cost friendly, budget friendly. You know, you get a breakfast sandwich and a coffee and an orange juice, and it was,
good.
can't go wrong. You know, and good. The sandwich was good as well. You know, so you can't go wrong, and it was a good play. We had a very rough time getting started, but the marshals were really cool there. But in terms of one of my favorite features or one of my favorite parts of one of the courses that it's going to be hard for me to forget, although I did forget the actual hole. Is it the Oak Trail 2 or 3? It's like a 170-yard par 3 or something like that. But I came within about inches of a hole in one. And I, you know, as a relatively new golfer, that's kind of like a big deal, you know, to get that close. And it was just like a little gust of wind would have knocked it in, you know. So that was
I know the feeling.
So that was very cool. That was kind of nice, even though it's not the most spectacular hole, you know, that you come across, but to have that moment was pretty nice.
And I think particularly on that course, as a mom, from what you recounted, what was really interesting was how patient they were with people who are playing there for the first time, maybe, and who have littles with them who are playing as well. So, you know, they'll help you to skip across maybe 1 or 2 holes to be able to catch up so that you don't disrupt the play of the people who are around you. And that's okay when you're starting off with kids. So don't feel like you can't bring your kids with you out for a round of golf. It's completely, you know, acceptable, and Disney is fully aware that you're there to have a fun time. Yeah,
because I mean, let's be honest, at some of the golf courses, golf kind of feels like a high barrier of entry, you know, for coming in, because like some people are really into it, you know, and avid golfers, and you wouldn't want to disrupt. But so if you're just getting into the game or you're not playing that much, you know, like Disney's a great place for that, right? I mean, of all the places in the world to have that starter experience, that's fantastic. And you know, not all of the members in the cart have to play. You know, there are options there, you know, that you can work around.
Yeah. I would say I don't know. I've been to all of the courses multiple times because he plays them all, and he'll talk about his playing experience. But I know for a fact that I've played Lake Buena Vista, Palm, and Oak Trail. I've probably played Magnolia, but I'm not entirely sure. My favorite parts of I guess the most magical features of the course. Oak Trails is where I got my first par. On hole number 6 is where I got my first par, and I have not gone any better than that. But it was magical for him more than it was for me, because he got to see this like joy and this excitement of me, like, you know, reaching a milestone as a golfer, and me constantly saying, I'm not even good at it. Like, I don't know why I'm playing. And then he's like, do you see what you can do? Like, not a lot of people do that. Or people that come to Disney. Yes, there are some really, really good players that come to Disney, but a lot of them are just here to have fun and to, you know, get a time away from their family or
or time with their family. Either one.
Like, there's a bajillion reasons why people are there, but most of them are not practicing for PGA Tour events. So you don't have to worry about being the best or the worst there because there's so many different levels out there. And then I'll say that Lake Buena Vista hole 6, you can't see it from the tee box, but the second you cross the water and get to the green, you just open up into the fountain and the bridge and the back of the old Key West lobby. And you get to see Olivia's cafe and you get to hear the pool and you see the fountain and the buses driving by and all these different things. And it's just beautiful. The whole placement usually is horrific because of the slope that it is on and the angle that you have to hit towards. But for the most part, just turning that corner and then finally seeing it open up to this just beautiful scenery of like why I love Disney is like that course as well. Like Buena Vista just goes through Old Key West, it goes through Saratoga, and you touch a little bit of Port Orleans. You'll get to talk about it. But that hole specifically, getting to see Olivia's and the nightlife, like just people at that resort just enjoying their time together, that is the most magical part of it for me. So.
And what about you, Will?
Yeah, so she started to take some of my thunder there after she not to take any of hers before. Starting with Oak Trail, it's very much like you said, Tomas. It's very family friendly. It is the course to go as a beginner. It's challenging in the sense that a lot of people call it the kiddie course because it's short. And then you get there and it's very tight to hit on. So for those golfers, you have to keep it inside an alleyway. There's not a lot of room left or right. So you've got to be on point. So if you can hit it straight, you're going to be in great shape. You don't have to hit it long. But you do see a lot of nature. You see a lot of deer. It's beautiful. We're
surrounded by turkeys a couple of weeks ago. We were there. Tons. Like entire, I don't know what a flock. I don't know what's the word for turkeys.
What's the word for turkeys?
Tons.
I don't know.
Just everywhere.
Yeah. So as I go through the close, I'll tell you what the wildlife forecast is like.
They're all different.
Oak Trail, they're all different. Oak Trail has the deer and the turkeys. But
I'm convinced there's gators in that one hole that has the water, but I don't know. There's definitely a swampy area that I'm not going to venture in to fetch my ball. That's for sure.
We'll get to which course has the most gators. It's Palm.
It's Palm.
Although recently I saw some at Magnolia, but we'll get there. So yeah, Oak Trail is a great walk, especially if you're learning how to play. It's not fast paced, so there aren't a lot of people like breathing down your neck, because one thing that intimidates a lot of new golfers is pace of play, and you have to maintain pace of play. Yeah, and Disney is slammed with a lot of vacationers and a lot of not just people staying on property, but just a lot of people here in the Orlando area.
Of course,
there's so many golf courses. Florida's the golf capital of the world, and people want to golf and they think, oh, Disney is going to have the best courses. Which brings me to one of my points about all the courses, the amenities you have at all these courses, the technology in the carts, the way the courses are kept, the driving range, the overall facilities are some of the best in Orlando, and I've golfed at a few different courses. That alone is worth the money. Some of the features like the GPS with an actual view of the hole, and it tells you where that flag is and how far you got to hit
distance.
It's great to have. You don't need a rangefinder when you're playing at Disney.
Yeah.
I rarely use mine. I really only use it on the par threes to get that perfect reading. So Oak Trail is a great walk. It's a great atmosphere. And
if anyone calls it like to me it would seem very I don't know, maybe golf elitist to consider it a kiddie course in that sense, because it's really somewhere like an executive 9 you might see in some places, right, where they'll have an 18, they'll have a much shorter 9. Oak Trail, it's absolutely totally acceptable. There's a couple of really long holes there, and a nice fun course.
Yep.
I was going to say, to add on to Gina's question about does everyone have to play? If you are not playing, I would not suggest Oak Trail, because you have to walk. There is no option to ride a cart when you're doing that. So if you're not playing, you may just be like walking for 2.5 hours, which if you want to do that, you absolutely can. But I'm just saying it's not as and at the other courses, there are rider fees that you're allowed to purchase, where that's usually what happens with me, is that I just sit and, if I'm not going to play, I'll pay the rider fee. And then I can at least ride around in the cart and drive around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But depending on who you're paired up, right? If you're, if it's 4 singles and then they're going to have to send out 4 cards because everyone has someone paired up, well, they have to double the amount of cards that they're turning around. And,
Yeah.
it changes the numbers quite a bit. So I can see that for sure.
So we have a question from Rachel. If someone is looking to add golf to their next trip, what are your recommendations about booking a tee time? Do they help a single golfer join another group that has a spot open? So
I kind of had that challenge because I was a single golfer. Well, not a single golfer, but golfing single. The website online at the time did not allow booking of single golfers, and you needed to be 2 or more. And so you have to call. And if you phone it in within a certain amount of time, they will absolutely pair you up. It's depending on who's in the slots and how much they know the pass holders. They won't necessarily know if you say I'm beginner, I'm intermediate, I'm an expert. They can't really slot you in with someone of your pairing.
Exactly.
But maybe when you go see the marshal like at the beginning, then they might be able to sort of move you around with someone who might be better or worse depending on your skill level.
You played alone one round.
I played alone one round but it was more because I was running a little bit late and the other ones were backed up and they were early and they let them go off. And so they let me tee off alone on that one. But that was more of an anomaly than a thing. But it also means watch out for those tee times when you're booking, because what I noticed is like, oh, it's wide open. But when you see online and it says 1 to 4 players, and you call in as a single golfer, you won't have those slots because you need to have someone that has already booked. And since they don't book singles, you need to have a slot that 2 people have already booked or 2. So if you're looking online, watch out for that 2, slots for 1 to 2 golfers, and then for sure. Yeah. And then within the last couple of days, don't wait till the last minute. It will get eaten up. I've seen afternoons that were wide open. And then when I showed up thinking any chance I can go early or late, and they're like, nope, fully booked. It really
it's almost like they need to save slots for all the single golfers, right? Like they would just pair up all the singles together and a couple of slots throughout the day when they call in. Who knows?
Yeah, and to add on to that, I play about half my rounds by myself. Not by myself. She'll be with me, but I book as a single. So anytime you see a tee time available on the website that's 1 to 2 players, they'll book you as a single. Sometimes they'll have 3 booked booked already, and they'll take singles. But what they've always said traditionally is if you're booking with a discount like DVC annual pass, you can book 4 days out. If you're booking as a single, you can book 3 days out. So sometimes you have to call, but the website has been updated so that now you can book singles and it's automatic. So the website is set up to where if it's 1 or 2, it'll let you book 1. 1 to 4, it won't let you. But if you're in that 3-day mark and you call, it'll let you. If it's 1 to 3, it'll still let you, because if one person books that single, and now it drops down to 1 to 2, well, at least a pair can still come out and book that as well.
Exactly.
It'd be cool. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if because a lot of the golf courses use the same golf backends for managing the booking system. It'd be interesting if someone comes up with a feature that lets you have sort of like a single golfer pool, to say I'd like to put my name in ahead of time and, figure out a pairing and kind of do something like that. That'd be interesting.
So Brad Britson says, they paired me up with a couple from New York and we had a great time. Did the early bird at Lake Buena Vista and loved it. He looks like a golfer from his cap.
Yeah. I've met some great people. I met a good friend playing Lake Buena Vista, which still have to mention my favorite courses, but you meet some great people. I've met some.
I had a great time.
It's amazing to meet some vacationers, people vacationing, people staying at Old Key West, Saratoga. We're playing right there in their backyard. You do get a lot of great
people. I say it's because they're Disney people? Dare I say that?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, the times I've been paired up with, great conversation, just completely random. Everyone having a good time of all sorts of age ranges. Although I think I've been the youngest in all of my pairings. And I'm not that young, but it was quite interesting. But it made for some really interesting stuff, and various degrees of retirement or second jobs, or a couple of cast members as well coming in. So it was lots of good fun. Highly recommend it.
So let's get into the other courses a little bit, though. We haven't talked about the other ones.
So I think I'm going to go in order of my favorite. I started with. I'll save my favorite for last. I have a different reason for each one of my favorites. So after Oak Trail is Palm. Palm, I would say, is the most challenging. It's very similar to Oak Trail, and then it's got what I call tight hallways. So, all of us golfers know that the key to golf is hitting it far and hitting it straight. And if you can do that, you're going to be really good. And that's the hardest thing to do. So Palm really requires that, you're surrounded by a lot of trees. And you kind of have to hit down a lot of these alleyways to get it out into the fairway. Also has the most amount of water, I would say. So most amount of hazards. Yeah. And the most amount of gators that I've seen. There's a specific set of holes. When you get to number 13, it's a short little par 4, one of my favorite holes. The way it plays is there's water to the right of you, and that water is shared with hole 14. So 13 goes this way, and 14 comes right back at you. And there's a little piece of waterway. And the last time I played there, I played with a coworker of mine and another guy that we met that was a local, and Rebecca was there, and I hit a great drive because it is a shorter par 4, so it left me 60 yards out, and I'm feeling great because I have a short, easy shot that is easier to control into the green. And I get to my ball, and I set up, and right across from me is an alligator on the bank staring at me.
Oh,
as I prepare to set up,
my goodness!
He prepares to open his jaw all the way up and just sit there and close it. And at this point, I don't know if he's mad, and then he does it again. So I have proceeded to lose all focus on this next shot. Year one, I definitely duffed that shot and didn't hit the shot I wanted to hit. But I was just glad that I was 30 yards ahead of where I was and leaving the gator behind.
Yeah, exactly.
So that there's that. What I will say about the magical feature about Palm is you do get a lot of the ambiance, especially hole number 1. It starts facing the Polynesian. And you hear a lot of the monorails and the Magic Kingdom ferry boats. So you hear that in the background almost your whole round. So that's really, really great. Yeah. Then Magnolia. Magnolia has some of the best holes, like actual hole layouts. I love that course. It's where I play the best for some reason. A lot of deers, a lot of turkeys. And the last time I played it, there were a few gators in the first hole, which was the first time we'd ever seen gators on that course. There was like 2. We saw 2 at the same time on that one. And then a few around the turn, around 10 and 11, there were a few more. Okay. But that has the best amount of holes. And I will say for all the DVC fans, there's nothing better than when you make the turn onto hole 16. So you play 15 and then you turn the cart around onto 16. And your backdrop is the roof of the Grand Floridian. That is literally
that's
nice.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. And that's literally what you're hitting into. So, you're teeing it up and you can see the hole, but your vision really is on the Grand Floridian. You can kind of see the monorail moving back there. It's amazing. I love hitting that tee shot.
That's a nice view.
Yeah. And mentally, it reminds you of where you are. It takes you back to I'm still at Disney golfing,
I feel like I've heard the story about that particular golf course and that view on the monorail that Arnold Palmer actually was one of the first people to ride the monorail because he saw it passing by as he was at a tee. So he was like, "Oh, that looks fun." And they're like, "Well, come on, let's have you try it." So it's one of those strange Disney stories.
And that hole is always where I get my Imagineering brain starts to go off. Whenever the next DVC resort is being built near a golf course, I say standard view, lake view, golf course view.
Yeah, for sure.
I know there's a lot of golfers out there that would enjoy it.
Clearly, you're a better golfer than I am, because if you think the view is what reminds you you're at Disney and not the ball drop that's painted in the shape of a Mickey head,
I didn't get there.
I've seen that one a few times.
I didn't get there yet, but yeah, they're all whenever you're near water, there's always a marked drop zone for you, and the drop zones are always in the shape of a Mickey head. But I was going to mention the bunkers. So at Magnolia, hole number 6 is a par 3, and guarding the green is a Mickey-shaped bunker. And you have to stare at it to hit into that green. Hole number 9 at Lake Buena Vista, which is the last and final course that I was going to get to on the backside of it. So you only see it when you're driving towards the first driving range, is a Mickey-shaped bunker. So
I'm
it's
surprised there aren't more, honestly. The amount of times that I've seen that as a focus shot or the glamour shot, of the course. I'm surprised they don't make more of them. I mean, it can't be more costly to make a Mickey-shaped bunker.
So, folks, have we covered all of the golf courses at this point, or are we missing one?
Lake Buena Vista. So
well, in terms of Disney owned ones, yes, because I mean within Walt Disney World, there's still others that I'm curious to try, like within the Bonnet Creek.
Right,
and,
but none
like
of them that
Waldorf,
are valid for our memberships
Right.
at this point in time. So that's good. Okay, so
There's
have we
one-
gone?
Oh,
Go ahead.
one final thought on Lake Buena Vista. It's the best ambiance. You are immersed in 3 different resorts, which Rebecca talked about. You start at Saratoga, you make your way into Old Key West, then Port
It is
Orleans,
fun.
and then you make your way back to Saratoga. The feel around you feels like true vacation. You're golfing on vacation. It's awesome.
I agree with that. I did look for my ball on someone's patio at one point.
Oh, it's inevitable.
All right. Well, I think we've done a really thorough job at covering all of the golf courses. So something that is, yes, the next thing that we want to talk about that's included with these memberships, whether or not it's the pass holder membership or the other memberships, like the DVC one, is mini golf and the foot golf. So we've really only played the mini golf at Vero Beach, and we've really enjoyed that one because it's right in the pool area, and so we can just let the kids run and play a bunch of rounds on their own, which is great. We've also done golfing in Hilton Head. They have a little putt, like a putting green that you can use throughout the day on the actual resort side, and then on the other side towards the beach house, they have Palmetto Dunes that has 3 courses around there.
Didn't we get a discount at Palmetto Dunes?
We did. At that point in time,
So
with
good
this
to know.
one, as a DVC member, so that was great.
Hilton Head represent.
But you guys
Speaking
have
of golfing
played-
mecca, I mean,
yeah,
I've
exactly.
been wanting to make a golf trip out there.
So pretty. But you guys have done the foot golf and the mini golf at the 2 courses that are at Walt Disney World. So tell us a little bit about that.
I have done mini golf at what is it called?
Fantasia.
Fantasia Golf. There specifically at Fantasia, they have 2 different courses. They have the fairways, which is going to be your non-Disney themed, very like an 18-hole golf course. Like it has bunkers, it has water, it has green, but of course it's all just turf grass, but it's not themed anything. I don't want to say not magical because it's magical because it's Disney, but it's just it has green turf. Yeah, it's golfy.
right.
Yeah. It's got breaks. You've got to read things like there's pars, all this stuff. So that's
Just Goofy's not there guiding you along the way.
And then you go into the other half of the fairways, and I'm forgetting what that half is called. But it's very much themed
The
to
gardens, I think.
Yes, the gardens at Fantasia. So, and it is everything and anything to do with Fantasia, the movie. So you're hitting into the oh my gosh,
brooms and
Yeah,
the buckets
exactly, the
and
brooms.
the hat, I would imagine.
lightning and thunder and windmills and what you would expect a mini golf course to look like. That is where you're going to have to cross bridges. You've got to go through tunnels and stuff like that. So that is, and that one always has a longer, I guess, wait time and or list of people to go through. They fill up very quickly. I mean, there's been times where we get up, they close, let's say 9:00, and we'll get there around 7:30 and they're like, we have no more room. We have people waiting to go out into the absolute last minute. We cannot accommodate. And it's like, okay. But usually
it's
fairways,
golf.
yeah,
exactly.
But it's packed. And this was before they opened up Winter Summerland again. We haven't gone back to mini golfing since Winter Summerland has been open. So I don't know if that process is different now because both of those courses are open. And then Winter Summerland is right outside of Blizzard Beach. They almost share a parking lot.
Pretty much.
They do. You could park at Blizzard Beach, and then right before you go into the actual water park, just take a right. And there is the starting entrance to Winter Summerland. It is themed Christmas, Mickey, everything. But it's basically because Blizzard Beach is almost themed the exact same way, snowman and an ice skater that lives in Florida. And so it's the same here. You've got snowmen and other, snow creatures enjoying their time in the summer. Think of Olaf, but this was before Frozen. So it's really nice. I haven't actually played there, but I have been to Blizzard Beach multiple times, so I've always seen what it looks like from the outside. Have you ever played at Winter Summerland?
It's been a long time, yeah, but I've played there. That is your typical mini golf course.
Yeah.
Bump it off different things, do the
use the
Of course.
angles. Yeah.
So yeah, those are great fun. They offer great replay rates too, kind of like the golf courses. Replay, you can play at a discount if you're playing a second round. So if you're trying to go courses,
Nice.
And then Fantasia Gardens. The garden is your very typical, bump it off different obstacles and Disney themed, and then the fairways is really just all green with little different elevation changes, and you just hit it through and try to. So it's very different.
Yeah, so
Feels like for our little golfers next trip that we're gonna have to try
Absolutely.
the fairways actually, so
Yeah,
they can work on their
definitely.
putting. It sounds like
But-
a great option for
But
that.
I do want to hear more about the foot golf as well, because when you're
Yeah.
playing at Oak Trail, so for those that aren't sure, so at Oak Trail in the end of the afternoon, they switch over to
Switches.
foot golf,
Mhm.
and you can see the foot golf tee spots, and every once in a while you come across the giant soccer ball holes. You
Yeah.
got to watch out for those. But
Not to
tell us
step
about
into
what's that? How's the play like?
Especially for an avid soccer player.
Yeah. Oh my, I was so excited. I was ready to because he always beats me at golf, right? So I was like, this is my time. Like, I want to finally get you on one. And I did.
Did she beat
But-
you, Lily?
Oh, of course.
Can't really header it. You can't really header it in though. I mean, that's got to be tricky.
It's really great. Like you said, you get to play on Oak Trail. So you're playing on the actual course. It's obviously much shorter. You're not hitting a ball 400 yards to try to, make it in 5 shots or whatever. But they have soccer balls there for you to use, or you can bring your own.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to wear cleats because that will mess up like the fairways and the turf
sure.
and the things like that.
That's
a good point.
That's a great point actually.
Yeah, but you can wear and they don't allow you to wear actual uniforms like jerseys and stuff, but you can wear just like regular athletic gear. It's not, anything too crazy.
No golf attire required for the foot golf, you're saying.
Correct.
Correct.
And so, but it was nice. It's still 9 holes. If you've ever played on Oak Trail, you go pretty far back into the woods, like 5, 6, and 7 go like over this bridge and around the water and stuff. You don't ever do that. So you stay pretty close to like the resort and the driving range in that area. But it's very manageable. I want to say we really enjoyed it. We've only played it one time, but it was that one time, that it's like you said, and then late afternoon, early evening time. So it's not hot. There's so many families and kids. We've seen groups of like, I would say up to 10 or 15 people at a time going out
Really?
together. Yeah, like they don't.
So they
that's
don't restrict it to
interesting.
like foursomes.
That's a great activity as a large group,
I can see
actually.
that. Or sometimes there's 2 families traveling together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly
way.
what we see a lot of. We see like local high school, like
team
soccer
building
teams.
exercises. Yeah,
So you
Yeah,
do have to
for
book
sure.
as a foursome, but if you have like 12 and you have 3 foursomes together, well, then everybody's kind of just conglomerated together,
That works.
Sure. That's great.
But it actually gets
it's
more
it's
filled
fun.
than you
Yeah.
would think. I remember thinking like, who actually plays foot golf? And then you're on the golf course because Oak
You're
Trail
like-
kind of weaves within Magnolia, and you're on the golf course and you see a foot golf packed, and those groups just out there enjoying themselves, kicking the ball around. It does get packed.
And I can see how that's like a very good entry sport into the sport of golf, right? So it teaches you the basics and understanding how it works. And
Mhm.
using that soccer ball, most kids are well versed in playing soccer at a young age. So that really helps them to maybe get into golfing later in
At
life.
the very least, a peak in interest.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, even for someone who is an avid soccer player, like it wasn't easy. I was having trouble like reading. You have to read and you have to like
Was he
make
your
notes
caddy?
where you're gonna yeah. And so like for kids you think, oh, they're just gonna kick it a bajillion times. You're not gonna keep score if you're playing with children. But like for us, we were keeping score and I was getting mad because I was like 7s and 6s and stuff, and I'm like, that's not
You're
me.
like, I can golf better than this.
Exactly. I've had a par. Like, why do I not have a birdie? Exactly.
On the foot golf. Well, this sounds really like interesting. I think it's also something that we would definitely want to try with the kids next time we're down there, especially seeing as though with the DVC membership, we get like a free round or 2, I believe. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely. Definitely want to give it a shot.
So last thing we wanted to talk about a little bit was the sunset and the twilight rounds. So I know that you've had an experience with a twilight round that lasted very, very long. So maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, so Twilight is kind of like their pricing category, I would say. Twilight rounds currently start at 3:30. So if you start at 3:30, 3:40, 4 hours and 10 minutes is what they say a round should take. You can finish because sundown is getting close to 8. And then you have a little bit more time after sunset when it's fully dark. So twilight rounds are usually when you see that big price drop from rounds you are guaranteed to finish pretty much to twilight rounds, which Tomasio mentioned you may or may not finish. So if you're booking 3:30, 3:40, 3:50, you might finish. You're booking at 4 o'clock and later, you might not finish, but all that is discounted. So even if you're only going to get in 9, or as you mentioned, 14, you're still getting a pretty good rate on that.
Good memory on that one.
Exactly. And then the sunset rounds, from what I understand, they include beverages and like some sort of sandwich or something to tide you over
and
for
that's,
that dinner hour.
That's a 9-hole package. So in other words, they're expecting you to either start on the back 9 or the front 9, and you're really only going to do those 9 holes with a snack or a cocktail, or coffee or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what's nice with the twilight round, so not only do you get that pricing discount, right? So you get a lot of advantage there. But if you're not necessarily a super avid golfer, right? Or if you're going with your family and kids and you may have to skip a hole, or you're not necessarily keeping score. It's a great time because maybe the more, the more serious golfers might be, the earlier tee times in the morning. So here's a way you can go to the park, you can have some time, with the family, you have lunch, and then sort of end the afternoon off.
Exactly.
Get the pricing with the twilight, come with the kids, have some practice, and just get out and just really do it. And if you don't do the full 18, that's okay. You didn't pay the full 18 price either. So you're getting a nice discount there. You're still on the course. You're experiencing the magic. You can try it out. And if you need extra help with the sand traps like me, then you can sit there and, whack at it a few times until you can get it out. And
that's the one thing that kids love. They are experts at those sand traps. I got to say, every time they go in the sand traps, they're like, woohoo, we're at the sand. They're very good.
I'm absolutely terrible in the sand. In fact, the last course I played, at one point, by the end, there was no one behind us and we're doing well. And I take the shot and it was just miserable. And the gentleman, the other guys I was paired with, like one of them would just throw a ball at me. He goes, next, try to get next. And then they would just keep throwing balls at me from my spot. Like, okay, do it again. So I thought that was kind of a bit of Disney magic there too.
Yeah, there's nothing worse for me than the sand. I'm awful. Rebecca's phenomenal at them. She gets in and out just like it's meant to do. There are times where getting the ball in the water is less penalty for me than getting into sand.
The sand. Yeah, exactly.
It is brutal.
But it's especially fun when that sand dune is actually Mickey shaped, right, guys? So that makes it magical. So I guess that's all we had to talk about tonight about golf. I hope all the folks who have joined us tonight have really enjoyed it and have learned a little bit more about the golf memberships that are offered, and hopefully that will come back in the near future. Come on, Disney. And also the fact that there are so many of us as DVC members that are looking for those types of activities to do when we're on our visits to the parks that are kind of outside of the box and that we may not have thought of in the past as a family activity to do together.
One last thing I'm going to squeak in to mention, speaking of out of the box, and your DVC, and you may not be local and you might not have a vehicle, is call ahead and ask, and they do provide shuttle services. So
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, actually, it's exactly much like the DVC vans, right? So when you sign up for the DVC tour, right, you get that van and they'll shuttle you off to the center at Saratoga. They'll do the same kind of thing for golf and either bring you off to Lake Buena Vista or over to Shades of Green for the other courses, because they are in 2 different areas. And unless you're staying at the Polynesian, where you could, kind of borderline walk it, the others, you definitely, depending on where you're staying, you might not be able to. So definitely call ahead and see if you can get that worked out for you.
Yeah, all Disney hotels will give you free transportation to the golf courses. You just call the front desk, and then when you're ready to return, you just tell the pro shop, and they'll call the transportation back, and it's free.
It's a huge perk when we think about it, right?
That is quite nice.
Giant perk right there.
And don't forget, also one other thing. So the Palm Magnolia, Lake Buena Vista, those are carts. But with Oak Trail, because it is a walking trail, you can rent pull carts, which I do, but you don't really get a DVC discount on that. But it's only $5 or $8 or something like that. So it's totally worth it for that. But it's good to know, because maybe you're not sure. Tons of rental equipment, good quality rental equipment as well. You might not be thinking, I've got the DVC membership, I want to leverage the discount. You don't
have to bring your clubs.
Go for a 9-hole, but I'm not going to pay to bring golf clubs for the whole family just to go do a walking 9-hole at Oak Trail, because that sounds fun. But what can I do? Rent the clubs, pull cart, no problem, and they'll definitely take care of
think
you. So you
last
get the shuttle, you get
yeah.
your clubs, and why not?
Yeah,
Have a great time.
exactly. No, it's really amazing how much they have to offer for golfers to be able to participate. So, last comment, I think we have one up from Rachel. If Gina has that, she says, "Thank you so much for all your recommendations and info on the courses and golfing at Disney. The info and discounts and specials seem all over the place on the Disney websites." Yeah, so we hope to streamline that down a little bit for folks because it can be located in very differing places on the websites.
Something that threw me off, weirdly enough, and I wasn't even sure if the Disney golf website was the actual one. I couldn't tell if it was run by a third-party company at one point because it was one of the few that has just WDW.
Yeah.
So that I thought, is this the legit one? But no, it actually is, right? So it's not Disney World, Golf WDW. This is the official website.
It. So
no
it's
problem.
golfwdw.com is the one that you're looking for right there at the bottom of the scroll. Thank you, Gina. So on that note, folks, I think for myself and Tama and Willie and Rebecca, we're going to call it a night. Thanks again to our sponsor of the show for tonight, the Dvc Rental Store. And hopefully you'll all be inspired to rent points from them to be able to go on little mini golf vacations here and there.
That's it. Rent some points, add a night, and add a golf day to your trip.
Exactly. So thanks very much, folks. And thanks also to our Patreon sponsors. We'll have the list come up very shortly for you all. Have a great night. And thanks for joining the community, folks. Bye.
Good night, everyone.